Gentlemen, this is going to be a presentation over Chapter 10, Section 2. You can use this maybe as a study guide for the quiz/test if we have one over this chapter. Okay, now Chapter 10, Section 2 comes right after Section 1, where at the end of Section 1, the plebeians of Rome have set up their own council because they're kind of upset with the patricians and this new government. So Section 2 is really a response of the patricians to the plebeians council, and what the patricians and the plebeians are going to set up is a tripartite government. Okay, tripartite just simply means that there are three parts to this new government, and it's going to be the magistrates are one part, Senate another part, and then the assemblies and tribunes. And it's this assemblies and tribunes, this is the part of the government that was set up mainly for the plebeians. Each of these three parts will have their own rights, powers, and privileges, just like in the United States. Now, in the United States, we'll call magistrates politicians. We also have, similar to the consuls of Rome, but our consuls are called, is the one president. We have a Senate. They don't advise the president and things like that. Our Senate, along with the House of Representatives, actually makes the laws of our country. And then our third branch is the judiciary. There really was no judiciary branch in Rome. It was usually judges were the magistrates, or magistrates had the job of being judges. All right, so magistrates being the first one, really what you just need to know with them is that these were elected officials. They helped to run the city. The two most powerful of the elected officials will be these consuls. Just like the most powerful elected official in the U.S. is the president. They served 1 year. We did learn, and we'll talk about this probably with the Senate, is that these magistrates, once they finish their 1 year, they will just automatically go into the Senate. Some of the other things that magistrates did is, they're judges, they manage finances, they organize games and festivals. The reason why there were two consuls and why they were elected annually is so that no one person could have too much power in Rome. At least that was the theory, to split the power amongst these two here. But the problem is, if you have two leaders, when there comes time for crisis, you really have no leader then, because these two had to agree. If one of them vetoed the other, then nothing would get done. And Rome really quickly found out that that was a problem or an issue, and that's why they instituted that dictator office that we talked about in Section 1, and had that type of a system or an office when there were times of crisis. Okay, now we have the Roman Senate. This was the second part of the government, and eventually it becomes the most powerful of the Roman government. And it was around even before the Republic, back when the Etruscan kings had power over Rome. And this Senate their primary role was to advise at first the kings, but then later to advise the consuls and the other magistrates of Rome. At some point, it consisted over 300 members in this Senate. And of course, it would come and go. The numbers would go up and down, just depending on, magistrates. Once they're up with their year, they'd become a senator, senators dying, things like that. But the biggest thing with the Senate, of course, is once you're a member of the Senate, you're a member for life. It's unlike all the other elected offices or parts of the government where you only had a 1-year term. And this gave them great influence over Rome. And it really led to why so many magistrates and eventually assemblymen and tribunes would basically do whatever the Senate wanted them to do. It's because they wanted to become senators also and have that position for life. At first, you had to be a patrician to be in the Senate, but later wealthy plebeians will also become senators. And really, the senators, they advise the magistrates, and by 200 BC, they have the greatest influence and pretty much control all of Rome. This third part here is going to be made up of the assemblies and the tribunes. We'll talk about the assemblies first. The assemblies are one part of the third part of Rome's government, and the assemblies were there to mainly protect the common people. Now, any citizen of Rome could be a part of the assembly. It's not an elected office or anything like that. It's really just a gathering of the citizens of Rome. And it was expected that to be a good citizen of Rome, you would be a part of the assembly. You would go down to the Roman Forum. The Roman Forum is the meeting place for Rome, and you would be a part of the assembly. That was kind of your civic duty. patricians and plebeians took part in this, and their job was really to elect the magistrates who ran the city. So you can kind of see here would be an assembly going on where maybe this guy up here is giving a speech about, hey, this is who I would like to run, for this office or something like that. And you might have a couple hundred, few thousand people out in here listening to this on a daily basis. But that was the primary role of the assembly. Now you have the Tribune, the second part of this third part. And this one was the elected officials for the plebeians. This is the plebeian class would vote for these elected officials. And really, these tribunes, the one power they had was a mighty big power, though, the power to veto actions by other officials. So maybe a magistrate does do something that is going to hurt the plebeian class. The tribunes could veto whatever it is that they did. And veto just simply means to I forbid in Latin. And this veto power gives the tribunes quite a bit of power, much like our president or our executives in the United States have. They have the veto power, so our president can veto laws that are passed by Congress and things like that. Now, also, again, so that no one tribune becomes way too powerful or things like that, they only served 1 year also. Now, they did not immediately go into the Senate if they were a tribune, but eventually, a tribune, perhaps they could be elected as a magistrate down the road, which would then lead them into the Senate. So it was a very influential office for the plebeians. Now, I got this image here of the Garakus Brothers. When we do chapter 10, section 3, the Garakus Brothers are going to play a big role in that section also, showing you how these tribunes tried to make things better for the plebeians, but how it was very difficult to do so. I'll kind of leave that for later, though. All right, civic duty. Okay, moving on here. Civic duty is just something that we have it here in the United States also. It's kind of this belief or this idea that you should participate in government in some way. And there's a lot of ways to participate. One, vote. Voting is a big way to participate. Others are to attend meetings, attend political meetings, in this case in Rome, assembly meetings. Others are to actually hold political office, hold these magistrate offices or political offices here in the United States if asked to. Voting in Rome was a complicated process, and not everyone was allowed to do it. You had to be a citizen, you had to be a man, all those types of things. But civic duty is just this idea of getting involved. And if you're involved, the more people that are involved, the better the city would be, or here in the United States, the better our country would be. Some of the things that you should probably think about is, at your age, getting educated is part of your civic duty. Getting involved in school, getting involved in the community. But not only education is reading, math, writing, that type of stuff, but also educating yourself on the issues of the day and what is best for not just the individual, but what's best for society as a whole. Okay, so that's part of civic duty. Cincinnatus, an example of someone that believed it was a civic duty to be a dictator, but as soon as the enemy was vanquished, to relinquish that power back to Rome. Another big part of government in Rome and in the United States is this idea of checks and balances. There is a fear in the United States, just as there was a fear in Rome, of like one person or one political office being much more powerful than the other and then taking over all of the government. So we and the Romans tried to limit the power of our politicians. And one way to do that, limit how long you could be in office. Now, unfortunately, on our national government, we only have one political office that is limited, and that's the president, to 2 terms. The others, your House representatives, your senators, they could keep getting elected for life. So it's a little tough with that here in the United States. But also you restricted some of the things in Rome that certain offices could do, just like here in America. But another one is checking and balancing out. So even in the United States government, one of the branches could block the action of another branch, and one of those examples is the veto. Like if a law here in the United States is passed, the president can veto that law. Just like in Rome, if a law was passed, the tribunes could veto it. There are a lot of other checks and balances that are in there. Like in this United States, the Supreme Court is a lifetime appointment. The president has the power to nominate someone to the Supreme Court, but it's the Senate that has to approve that person to the Supreme Court. Just like it's the judiciary branch that can decide if a law is constitutional or not. And if the Supreme Court says the law is unconstitutional, then it's not a law anymore, and there's nothing that the Senate, the House, or the President can do about that. They have to change the law if they want to keep that law. So there are a lot of different checks and balances, just like this here has checks and balances in Rome. All right, we've talked a lot about the 12 tables, doing some activities with that, and basically the main things with the 12 tables is to understand before 451-ish BC, somewhere in there were no written laws in Rome. And this made it very difficult for the citizens, especially the commoners, to really know how they're supposed to behave. And any time they could be walking down the street, unfortunately, and a magistrate could accuse them of some kind of a wrongdoing. And this eventually makes the people so unhappy, the plebeians, to where they're forming their own government and things like that. And this will lead to the patricians writing down the laws, which is a phenomenal new concept in Rome, to where everybody knows exactly what is expected of them. It doesn't mean the laws were fair or anything like that, but it's just like here in the United States, we have access to know what laws we are supposed to be living under. And in Rome, they were called the 12 tables because they were written on 12 tablets initially, wooden tablets and then later bronze tablets. And then these are used as inspiration for, civilizations long after Rome. I mean, even some of the laws we have today in America come from examples of the 12 tables. All right, last thing I probably want to talk about is the Roman Forum. Now, the Roman Forum is it's a meeting place, really, is what it was. It was the public place in Rome. This was the center of all activity in the city of Rome. Now, there would be lots of forums, actually, in Rome, the city itself, because as it grew and grew and grew, they would build new forums or new meeting places, kind of like shopping malls here in the United States or something like that, or in, let's say, Omaha. But it was the center of life. It's where your government buildings were, it's where your religious centers were, and it was also where you did business. So you had shops there and things like that. Every day you would want to go down to the forum and just, discuss ideas, learn about new things, whatever you needed to do. It's in the Roman Forum where the 12 tables would be displayed. It's in the Roman Forum where the assembly would meet, and they would, out here in the open, they would talk about ideas. You have government senators, things like that out here, magistrates, consuls, priests, whatever it was. Anything and everything happened here in the Roman Forum. So it was the center of life. All right, like I said, in the forum, there were kind of two hills, the main forum in Rome, that flanked or were on opposite ends of the Roman Forum. One was the Palatine Hill, the other the Capitoline Hill. One of the hills, this is kind of the religious center. The other hill would have the government center. And, even gladiators sometimes, they would have gladiator fights there inside that Roman Forum. Might even be where a consul is crowned as, the consul. And then later, after the Republic, we'll be talking about when it becomes an empire. This would be maybe on the steps here of the Roman Forum where the new emperor would be crowned and things like that. So there's constantly people in the Roman Forum on a day-to-day basis. All right, this last chart here just kind of compares Rome's government to the U.S. government, so you can see some of the things that comparing and contrasting with each other. I just like this as a chart, since this is part of our essential question on how these two civilizations or societies are comparable. All right, thank you guys for listening to this, and hopefully this helped you prepare for a Chapter 10 test, Section 2 quiz, anything like that. Thank you guys.